Many people share your experience, Eli. Every testimony is consistent, but from what I've gathered, you knew about them before anyone else, so tell me, how did it all begin?
During an evening of fishing, a friend noticed a peculiar cluster of stars, unlike any of the surrounding celestial bodies. They were slowly growing in size, in unison. I'm known as the town's local astronomer, so she notified me of the phenomena that evening, and I immediately sailed out to her position. This was an event I couldn't ignore, but when I arrived at the coordinates she had given me, my friend was absent. Her boat was nowhere in sight.
Did this concern you at all?
I figured she went back to the town to get some rest. After all, it was almost midnight. After I positioned my telescope, I proceeded to examine the star cluster. At first glance, it did appear that they were growing together, but they were also passing by other stars. At this observation, I realized that they weren't growing at all. The stars were slowly falling toward me. I watched for several hours more until they entered the stratosphere, at which they dramatically increased in speed, hurling toward the sea.
Almost like comets. How fast would you say they were going?
I remembered that in the span of a single blink, the stars had traveled from the top of clouds to just above the surface of the water, and it was just above the sea that they paused, hovering quietly over the waves. I could see that they weren't stars at all, for organic tendrils dangled from them. I was reminded of a starfish. The largest of the stars then addressed me. Eli, the Crescent King arrives in 3 cycles. You are his container.
A container? What did you take from that?
I wasn't sure at the time, but I did believe that 3 cycles corresponded to 3 days. Just as I made that connection, the starfish jettisoned back into the sky, causing tremendous waves, knocking me off my boat. The telescope had snagged onto my sleeve, and as it fell, it pulled me to the sea floor, where I saw hundreds of sunken vessels, some of which appeared to be ancient in origin. But most appalling was the boat I found myself slowly landing upon, for it was my missing friend's vessel, and her submerged body laid nearby. I broke loose from the telescope and swam back to shore, where I fell unconscious from the exhaustion.
Do you know of a William Rice or Bert Essex?
I do not.
Well, they also went missing in the vicinity. Do continue.
When I awoke, it appeared that an entire day had passed, and 2 cycles were left before the arrival of the Crescent King. I was afraid. These were beings that were unimaginably faster, larger, and more powerful than myself. Just after this realization, I was violently thrown across the shore and landed behind a large stone. I looked about and realized that I was no longer in my own body. I looked off to where I once stood and found my physical being standing motionless. It appeared that my consciousness was extracted. Invisibly, I hid behind the stone as I watched the translucent shape of a massive creature lightly nudging my figure with its massive limb. It was the Crescent King, but there was still some connection. Some quantum element was left undisturbed during the hijacking of my neural networks. I could hear the Crescent King's thoughts as it explored my brain, testing my mental capabilities, akin to an individual trying clothes. This ritual abruptly ended, and I was soon sent back into my own body. The momentum at which I was returned knocked me unconscious once more.
Did these periods of unconsciousness contain any further messages?
Not that I recall. When I awoke, another day had passed, and I had 1 cycle left before becoming a despicable container. So I planned to spoil my body, make myself unworthy of any habitation. I ate sand, drank salt water, tore at my skin, all to discourage any hideous progression of events. This only furthered my fatigue and eventually led me to falling unconscious one last time. The last thing I recalled was a massive entity falling from the sky and crashing into the sea. The Crescent King had arrived. remember much else.
Well, a vacationing family found you and you were sent to the hospital. You're not the only one with these stories, so I've been sent to get these testimonies. But you're luckier than most. I'd say half of the others are catatonic. A few cases got into the headlines and threw the whole East Coast into a panic.
That's good.
Good, huh? That's a funny way of putting it. You really believe this stuff, don't you? You think you're a container of this Crescent King?